things about the UK is that although almost no one is religious in any believing or practicing sense, 5% of people go to church on a weekly basis. That's a tiny proportion. Huge majority, 95% of people, well, let's say 93% of people are not going to a place of worship on an average week, right? Depending on the question that you ask, huge majorities of people say that they're not religious. And yet, in one of the most non-religious countries in the world, we still have an established church that's established by law. Our head of state is still legally the head of the Christian Church of England. The church runs a third of our state-funded public schools, has massive influence over domestic policy in all sorts of areas. That's one of the things that humanist organisations campaign against, is that continuing religious privilege.
We have 26 bishops in the House of Lords, purely because they're bishops, not because they're necessarily any good at lording. And of course schools is the big one, that we give special schools to religious groups to do whatever they want, more or less, to teach whatever they want, in a way that we wouldn't allow in a comprehensive secular school. We wouldn't say it's fine not to teach about contraception. That's an important part of public health. People have the choice. But for some reason we say, well, not a religious school, which isn't right. Everyone should get the same access to information and make decisions of their own. I have no problem with someone going to a school and being a Catholic and being a Muslim and being Jewish. But we should have all information there for us.
One of the interesting things about Britain is that it's been a long time now since most people were religious. Even in the middle of the 19th century, most people weren't going to church. And throughout the 20th century, the group of non-religious people has grown. I mean, it is now basically a majority of people in this country. Now, as a result of that, people my age, might have parents and grandparents who are also humanists, and that's certainly the position I'm in. We do still get people, of course, who realise that they're humanists, having had a religious upbringing, and that puts them in quite a distinctive position. But most non-religious people in Britain now are non-religious because they always have been.
70% of British students don't identify as having any religion, and of the other 30%, many of them just say culturally they're Christian or culturally they're Jewish or Muslim or whatever.
Religion in Britain today is much more complicated in a way than it has been in the past. Obviously there is incredible religious diversity in our country today. Although it's very localised, it's very much something in urban areas and obviously very much in London. And at the same time as we're acquiring that sort of hyper-diversity, most of the population is secularising all the time. So at the same time as there's religious diversity on the one hand, there's complete collapse of religion on the other hand. So we've got most people continuing to become more and more non-religious at the same time as we've got growth in the number of different religions, although from a very small base. It's a very interesting time, actually.
There's no such thing as, or there shouldn't be any such thing, as evangelical humanism. I don't feel like I want to share the good news to the four corners of the earth kind of thing.
Since you're the president of HAs.
Yes, so even as president, I'm not interested in converting people, so to speak, I'm interested in raising awareness of humanism. I think, certainly in my case, having been to a Catholic school in a very Catholic country, I wasn't even aware of there being an alternative. So I think it's good for people to know that it's there, to understand it better, to remove the negative stereotypes that humanists, somehow that without God we must want to eat babies or kill our grannies. So that's important. But ultimately, I don't see it as my job to get rid of religion.
When I reflect on what my own beliefs have done for me in terms of my own sort of well-being, psychological well-being and so on, I think that there are two things that consciously having humanist beliefs has made me do. One is I think it's given a sense of urgency to this life. I think that if you think that this reality we're experiencing now, this life that we're living right now, is the only life we're going to have, that completeness, fulfillment can't come in any future place, it's got to come now, I think that gives a certain urgency and an added colour to this existence. And I think that's good. I think that leads you to really focus on not that you're continually focusing all the time on what you're going to do. You need downtime from life like everyone else does. But I think acknowledging that this life, which is short, is the only opportunity that we have, I think that's changed my life for the better when I think about it. And the other thing is, I think there's something about realizing that human beings aren't some sort of separate, special, divine creation. Human beings aren't that. We're an integral part of the nature of this planet. We're part of this world. We're the product of billions of years of planetary evolution. I think recognizing our place in that has gives you a sort of comfort. You feel at home in reality. You feel that this planet is where we belong, is where we are. We're connected with every other human being because we're all part of that same species, that same human family. We're connected to the rest of this world. We're cousins to everything in it. I think that has given me a sort of existential feeling as well.